He's in here already. That's crazy. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh. Oh yeah. What is going on, everyone? Need a I know this sounds weird, but I need a haircut. Uh, my little poof is out of control. My little poof. Uh, oh, I got to put an engine back on a cart. Although I don't think I'm gonna be racing because the weather looks like crap out. Uh, Anybody? Hey, I got a thumbs up. Sweet. Hey, everybody! Hit a like on the video, possibly subscribe to the channel if you're new here. You want to know what's funny is my kids are exceptionally embarrassed about the channel and what I do here and how what is going on, everyone. And if I ever want to embarrass them, I do that, and they just—it's so cringy to them. Good evening. Oh goodness, yes, this hitting me. Yeah, changes. Move that over there so it isn't hitting the beard so much. Ah man, yeah, kind of bummed. My wife, not so much. So I planned on running on Saturday. Clone 360. Yes, that'd be heavy. I've gone over that before, but it was 300 to win or something like that at a local track champion. And I was going to go. And here in New York, it looks like there is heavy rain on what day? Saturday. Yeah. So uh, open tire. It wasn't a Reaper race. It was an open tire, so I was going to be able to run Vegas, which I'm pretty okay with. I still really like Vegas. I like running them. I've learned to manipulate them over the years. I am not going to get to run them Saturday. It seems like. I mean, last I checked, it was like 87% chance of rain. So I'm guessing that that's gonna be a no go, and I'm just gonna have to put things on hold. And I really hope I get to run in September. Running out of days here, running out of summer, and I'm sure I'll get it run a couple more times. Maybe run the clone a couple more times, and at least one race if everything goes okay. I plan on going to the UAS, the Northeast Divisional in oh shoot, what was that called? Down in PA. I'm hoping to do that. Yeah, Burris. Firestones were on the way out as I came in. At least came into UAS. So when we'd go down south sometimes. I'd run with a bunch of buddies, and we went down to like Virginia one particular time, and my buddy was real big on his running his stones because they were perfect, and he really loved them. But it was very shortly after that Firestones made their way out, and Maxis was really not that they weren't big. It's just it's all experience. My experience up north here has been, I initially started on Burris, and then as I got into UAS, I became real familiar with Vegas, and then a lot of it has been Burris and Vegas just because I'm up north here, and then I experiment a little bit with the Maxxis tires and some stuff like that. But yeah, definitely. I can imagine that transition if you've gotten used to treads. And I don't I don't run treads, but I have zero issue with treads or people running treads. As a matter of fact, I think it's a really good idea. It really there's only you can prep them, but I don't think it is it's not the equivalent to that. And obviously, some places are going without prep, hey, just treads and we're going to test your tires, no run and prep or anything, which I think is fantastic if you develop a series like that. But there's definitely limited stuff that I think, because the tread's a lot thicker. Um, you can do outside wiping, which would be fine, but I don't think, because of the thickness, that internal rolling is going to be that prevalent as far as prepping tires. So that's just my opinion on that, I guess. Uh, but yeah, going from if you're going from treads to slicks, um, that'd be an interesting sensation because you're just used to the cart handle a certain way, and then obviously slicks are going to make it handle a completely different way. Cart, cart loose, not real bad. Not sure which way to move, left, in, or out. Cart loose, not real bad. Sure which way to move, left, in, or out. Left rear tire. Maybe I'm what's going on? Maybe I'm missing the part of that, right? Um, if you're left rear, so the wider your rear, be the hell's the term? Why am I drawing a blank there? Anyway, if you spread out your contact patches, if you move your left rear out, it is going to drive away. If you cinch it in, is gonna it's gonna make drive better. So the closer into your rail, it's going to be more forward bite. The left rear moving out is going to help it turn center, but it's also going to make it lose drive off. Just think of it, as your front tires to your rear tires. If you space them out, less drive. If you make them even, or in more, it's going to be more drive. I messed up a wheel for getting a wheel. Aluminum wheels, they're tough. If they take damage, it really depends on how bad. Yeah. Track width. That's the freaking. That's. Sometimes I go to say stuff. Track width. That's what I meant. Yeah. If you spread your track width out, it's gonna reduce drive. If you narrow up your track width, that track width is the outside of your tread panner to. I got tires on this cart over here. Here. Okay. So left rear, you measure your track width. It's from this contact patch over to this. That's whenever you see that on a website or wherever, they want want your rear track width, is the contact patch of your tires. From this all the way over to here. Now you notice this is on my open. You notice how it's fairly close to the rail. Now I do leave a little gap there. It does, like I said, when you move this out, it reduces drive off a little bit, but it also, this moved out sometimes helps the cart rotate in the center. How much, it really depends on what type of surface you're on. But that's, yeah, rear track width. I can't believe I freaking drew a blank when you were saying something. No, I always forget to turn this up. There we go. Alrighty. Yeah, that's aluminum rims are. This is sometimes they're okay. I don't know. It really depends how bad it is. Um, I've run some pretty beat up rims before, but then again, it's all relative. That was on my open, and I never overly concerned myself with rims being messed up at all. I almost swore. I try not to swear on this channel, and I almost dropped an F bomb right there. I try not to do that anyway. But yeah, I do get that question how often, should I replace rims? It's way more crucial on clone stuff if you're really trying to eke every little bit of speed out of it. I spent so much time on an open that I'm still used to that. Reuse rims till I visibly see them wobble on like the tire surfacer, or I hit them pretty hard and they become damaged. So I'm used to so much horsepower that it don't get me wrong, it's causing me to lose a little speed, but with that horsepower, when you're talking about 70, 80 horsepower, whatever you want to say that our open engines make, of course my buddies are texting me, um you just don't notice it as much. So there's that. Yeah, like I was saying, now that there's a couple more of you, I was planning on running clone this weekend. There's supposed to be a dude. What? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Band. I say bandmates. I was in a band for a really long time. We haven't practiced in forever. Um, they're texting because of Lincoln Park having a new singer. Fantastic guys. I'm busy. I'm doing stuff. Clone engines are this thing. That's a clone. Uh, that happens to be one of my clones. Uh, what are they? I'm not even sure. Are they? I think they're 196 cc, four-stroke engine. So break down for you, monkey. That where there are a lot more engines out there. So I'll just name some of the major ones. When you're getting in, okay, you're going to have one of the newer classes is going to be Predators. Predators are a Harbor Freight engine, four-stroke engine. It's 212 cc, either 196 or 212 cc. You're not quite sure. You can buy them a Harbor Freight. You put a clutch on them. They're real. Like you're not allowed to modify them at all. Real, cost saving type of engine. Then you have the Predator Ghost engine, which is it's like a clone engine, but again, you buy it at Harbor Freight. It's their version of a race engine. You have those. Then you kind of there are things like the LO 206 Briggs and Stratton. There's animals. There are a bunch of different classes, different engines, but your majority of them are going to be Predator classes and clone classes, which that is. Um, and it's there's two different sets of rules. There's AKRA or NKA rules, depending on where you're running. If you're buying an engine, you got to figure out what is legal at whatever track you're going to run at. And then up from that is going to be your open stuff. You can build those into opens and make a lot more horsepower, or you can go the UAS or run what you run route, and you're going to get into your two cycles, your big 500 cc, or 450 cc four strokes that like motocross engines, stuff like that. We just strap them on carts and really go for it. And that's what I'm used to running. So my engine over there on my cart is a 270 cc true stroke. It's called a Bama. Buller Bama makes it. Yeah, KT 100, one of my favorite classes. They're animals. There's so many, and then get into the road course stuff, and you get into those the tag engines, the 100 cc's, the 125 cc's, touch and go. So it's got a starter on board. You got all those classes. Then you get into vintage stuff with the McCullochs, and there is a lot of kart engines out there, a lot of different kart classes, but in general, Predator, Clone, UAS are a lot of the major ones, with a whole bunch. The KT 100's a 100 cc piston port class. That is one of my, that's where I pretty much started. Well, I started in Flathead, which Flatheads are, about done except for specialty races. But yes, I love two strokes. But since I've been running a clone, I've been running a four stroke, so they're okay. They're okay. But like I was saying, I was going to run the clone Saturday, but it looks like the only day it's going to rain this week is on Saturday. So we go New York. something 87% or something like that percent chance of rain. So I'm pretty sure that's done for. And if it was AMS, it'd be AMS probably a run because regardless of that type of storm system coming through, if you've ever seen my videos of AMS, it's like this. And once it stops raining, give it about 45 minutes past when it stops raining. John will run it in real quick. Run some carts out there real quick, and then let's go racing type of thing. But when it's like Champions, very flat, the parking lot puddles up real bad. It just doesn't deal with the water nearly as bad. They are supposed to be checked. So it really depends on where. That's where I won't say it's a rant, but UAS Unlimited All Stars, for you, those of you who don't know what that is, we have a general rule package. I can take this cart right here and I can go out to California right now and go and race it under that rule package. I get local options and this and that, but they're really, I wish there was a broader, type of thing. Even the difference between NKA engines or clones and AKRA, it's just annoying. It's just like, oh, can I run the weenie pipe? Do I have to run the big pipe? What kind of clutch can I run? It's like, man, I just wish everybody would kind of, here's the rules for these engines. Cool, you can get in there, mess with the ports, and that's what defines an engine builder between engine builders. Decide on all that stuff, but just have generalized rules. This, and then everybody can race friggin' everywhere. But you have, like the monkey saying here, the LO206 with engine builders on there, which means that somebody's had their hands on that. Now, whether or not sometimes they have to do it. So, for instance, AKRA I know allows for head milling on the clone engine because they are coming from China. They are not completely flat. I'm pretty sure that NKA does not allow that, but NKA allows an updated camshaft in it to allow for better power to be made. So it's it's really pretty bogus. In Yeah, the Flathead's going out. That Not if you listen to shoot, what's his name, Todd Miller. So I'm a big fan of Four Takes and Fuel, the racing podcast. If you guys haven't ever heard of it, it's on Spotify, stuff like that. Four guys from Four Takes and Fuel. Anyway, the guys from Louisiana down there, I was on their podcast. And they had Todd Miller on that, and they were talking to him about the flatheads. They said, "Are you sad about the flatheads going out?" And as an engine builder, Todd Miller was like, "No, those things are a nightmare to freaking work on." So even though nostalgia wise, I'm sure a lot of people miss the flatheads, engine builders, once parts become scarce, they just don't want to deal with them, trying to get real good horsepower out of them. If you push, it's an industrial based engine. So when you start pushing an industrial based engine too far, they come apart. I dealt a lot with that, racing against that when I got into UAS. So when I got into UAS, we didn't have the bigger CC rules back then. So basically, we're running like 125, 131 type two strokes against a lot of industrial based Star engines, Tecumsehs, stuff like that. Well, it's all industrial based. It's meant for snowblowers and stuff like that. Well, once you start wicking up the power on those things, the camshafts come apart, the crankshafts come apart. They start blowing rods through the block. They're just you can make some serious power out of some of that stuff, but because it's industrial based, it's not meant to turn the type of RPM, this long sustained RPM that racing engines do. Things like the Clone, the Ghost. Obviously we run motocross stuff in UAS now. It is made for racing. It is made for taking that kind of RPM, that type of the power that we're trying to get out of them. So there's that. Flatheads are, it's a bummer, yes, nostalgia wise, but also your West Bends, your McCullochs, everybody, engines have seen their time come, and even though there's that nostalgia there's a reason for it because they just uh, run out of parts. One of my very favorite engines that I ran for the longest time was called the 125cc sedan, IAMI. was made by AME Perilla Sedan. They stopped making those. You can still get pistons for them because of the water cool. It's a 54 millimeter piston. Still in road racing, they still make the pistons, so you can still put pistons in them. But they stopped making the air cooled version, which was what everybody ran. But yeah, yeah, it's a bummer. It's everything goes through transitions. Um, most days now UAS because that's primarily what I did before this year. Um, a majority of it is motocross based engines. Either your 250 two strokes modified, bigger bores, blah blah blah, or your 454 strokes modified. But then you get into things like you got your Jawas, obviously Evan C and Team C High Performance, C High Performance runs the BRC 150. Um, Amazing team. And that's a purpose-built engine. That's a two-stroke made for what it's supposed to be doing, which is great. Um, Shout out to KB Cartway. Sad to see Loco cut. Uh, yeah, KB. I don't know why. Friday night, I don't, and it's not that it was competing against champion. I mean, they're far enough apart that it was. Uh, I went down there for a money race. I didn't actually run. Nobody showed up, and I feel bad. Super nice people, super nice facility. The track, I watched them practice on it. I just didn't want to get my stuff dirty because we ended up not racing. I don't understand why people didn't take to Friday nights around here again. It used to be a big thing, and it never got going this year. There's a couple times that they had a good cart count or decent cart count, I'd say, but for whatever reason, yeah, nice facility. I don't, grass, parking. It was just it was a nice place. I just the track looked decent, looked smooth. Any videos I've ever seen from it looks real good. I just nobody. Sometimes you just can't. Hi, Amber. Sometimes you just have a hard time explaining things like that. Why did the KT 100 class die? It doesn't make any sense. They are reliable as heck. They're faster than clones are, and they just died. It just absolutely nuked. I don't get it. There's pockets of it down in PA. There's some of them Northwest. There's some kind of Midwest. There's a couple classes that pop up here and there, but I don't. Yeah, it's. I went over this a ton of times. Disposable income is a very real thing. When people are having a hard time paying their mortgage, inflation, everything's up, everything costs more. Things that are extra, and karting, unfortunately, is extra. They can't find the funds in order to do it, and that everybody's in the same kind of squeeze. I just hate to see it when it's people start bad mouthing. Oh, it's this track doesn't get this many competitors because of this or that they did. No, it's not that. It's the whole industry is down as a whole. That's tires cost more, everything costs more, engines cost more. Just it is what it is. It's unfortunate to see. Sometimes pinching your pennies and just saving up and going to a big race, a big money race is kind of where people are leaning to. Or like, it's just you end up spending a crap ton of money on tires and then running them one time or a couple times. That's a bummer. Yeah, I was really hoping to freaking run this weekend, but yeah. It's speaking of which, my fundage really took a hit. I went and ran the AMS, and it's not that it costs a lot to go run AMS, but I ran the Layfield Memorial there, and I definitely paid for two classes. Cool. I got my butt whooped in both of them. I do have to play around with it, so I did that video on left side, and I'm I think I might try and tip my seat up a little bit, see if I can't get the cart to roll over and bite a little because of my excessive left side weight. And this is not a rant per se, but it's just funny. Sometimes I get comments, and it's just people just like, "Oh, move your seat right." It's like You don't think I thought of that? The reason why I made the video and I didn't. It's partially my fault because I didn't make the point that the engine is over all the way to the right. I am right against the engine. This is I'm up against it. So all my left side is me. There is no moving right. So the one suggestion that I did here was tip my seat up, which would give me a little more uh, virtual center of gravity. It would cause the cart to roll over a little bit more, but I'm real comfy in my seat, so I don't usually, suggest moving your seat if you're real comfortable, but it's something I might want to do. Being I'm a little top heavy, that might actually help me try and get some more right side bite on some of these looser type tracks, or I just wait until the tracks grip up again up here. They get soft and bitey the way I like them, and then my left side doesn't bother me so bad. There's down to 100. Yep. Yeah, and Hunterstown is a phenomenal facility. I mean, top notch, everything. Paved grid, the pits, the all. I've been to Hunterstown. Hunterstown is a track that I love and hate. I've had some really good luck there, and I've had some really bad luck there. But phenomenal facility, run very well. Great track. But yes, even their cart counts are down. I was hoping to go to the Clyde Little Memorial Race, but as it turns out, I am going to NASCAR on Sunday, so I am going to freaking miss that, which is a bummer. I was Kyle Pease had mentioned it to me. I was like, all right, I'll get my open up for that, and I got Maxxis, I got the Reapers, I got tires that'll work there. And I came home and I was just like, hey, what do we got going on? The 14th and 15th. And my wife's like, we're going to Watkins Glen, Ben. And I'm like, oh, right. So technically, I could do it, but it's a 4.5 hour pull. So I would have to drive down Friday night, sleep in my truck because I'm not paying for a hotel. Sleep in my truck, wake up in the morning, run the race on Saturday, drive home, get a couple hours sleep, drive down to Watkins Glen from here. I Yeah, I just no, I can't do it. I that will it will absolutely decimate me. So technically, I could do it. Am I going to do it? No, I'm not going to do it because I'd rather be able to get up Sunday morning at a reasonable hour. They say gates are at 8 a.m. for Watkins Glen, but the race doesn't start till 3, and I'm not into that. I'm not leaving at 7 to get there at 8 type of thing. So um, I suppose I'd leave here 9ish or so, and then get down there. It's like an hour down to Watkins Glen for me. I was like, wait. SS11. Okay. Left side weight. What about softer Duro tires? Funny story. I'll tell you. Well, it's not funny story. So after getting lapped in the Clone 375, I was running burst 33s. I was running my older burst 33s, which didn't turn out that great. But it's a culmination of my left side weight and the tires being a little old. Yes, I was able to prep them heavier, but it didn't. I ended up getting lapped. So I tried in Clone 350. I tried to run SS11s. Clearly on a night that was SS33s, and it was a 50 lap race. And about lap 25, it was when they gave up. It was sketchy, and I ended up pulling off because I all of a sudden I was holding my own. I think I got up to fifth or sixth, something like that. And I was like, all right, this is, maybe with all these cautions, they'll cool down and I'll be able to hold off people. We got a slightly longer run on softer Duro, the 11s compared to the 33s. And I started getting eaten up pretty bad. And I was like, I was in trouble in a hurry. So I ended up pulling off. But what would you do to SS? Don't go crazy on SS11s. I don't I haven't duroed my 11 since I got them this year. I mean, they're used and all that, but they weren't heavily prepped. Um, I more so treat Burris when I get to the track, whatever the track is calling for. So if it is calling for 2, 3, good wipes of something aggressive at the track that day, um, I've never had a ton of luck, and this is me. This is not the end all be all. I'm not some super fast guy that you should take everything to heart with. But from what my experience, from what I've seen other people do, this is where I'm getting my experience from. Is that Burris are usually better left unprepped or mildly prepped coming into the day, especially 11s because they are so soft now. Depending on how soft you need them, just be more aggressive that day of the race. Track tack stuff, it depends on temperature. So I'm not supposed to recommend GoPro. I can tell you that one of my very trusted friends had said that Burst 33s and probably Burris 11s. If you had GoPro and mix it 50-50 with better GoPro, GoPro and better than GoPro 50-50, Burris 33s and Burris 11s the rubber absolutely loves that combination. The better than GoPro helps counteract some of the bad stuff that the GoPro does, but the GoPro adds an element of bite that the better than GoPro might not have. I've tried it a couple times, works really well on particular tracks, but it depends. Now, if you're talking cold weather, if it's getting cooler out, SAA grape, Burris, I found absolutely love it. That's the one. That's the chemical I used from Track Tack line. I won in the beginning of the season when it was really cold out. It was like 35 degrees or something when we took the green. Um, but I had a couple wipes of SAA grape on them. It really enjoyed that type of that prep. Obviously, SQS and orange to fire the tire off, depending on how cold it is. Those two things. Races weekly. Yeah, I drive at least, and I have the entire time. We don't. The closest track to me is about 45 minutes away. They don't run carts anymore. It's a place called Lime Rock. It's now a 5th mile, which would be really cool, but they run micros on it, and it got pretty rough the last time we were there. The surface was like cobblestone. It was real bitey. Used to be a really good track, but just as cart counts dove, their carts stopped showing up, and the micros took over. And cool, I guess. So the closest track to me is Wellsville. That's about an hour. And the track that I used to drive to was about hour 10, hour 15 minutes. That was Paradise. Champions, like an hour and a half. Adrenaline, just like an hour and a half. So everything from me is anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half at least. If not a couple hours once you get down in PA. So yeah, it's tough. It's you want to race local, and I wish there was something a little closer to me. And good for the people that live next to a track or close to a track. But I've always driven at least an hour. UAS stuff. I mean, it wasn't uncommon to every single race drive 3 to 5 hours, whatever track I was running. That was just what I did that for a lot of years. So hour to 2 hour rate, away from me. Yeah, okay. But then again, I haven't raced weekly in a long time. Uh, just not my thing. Uh, no problem. Someone's running Reapers. You can. And yeah, the as the temperature drops, that the black sand, I would probably continue to do that. If it's getting colder, SQS just to fire the tire off, you can. I did find so I have to do a whole video on it on my experience with Reapers. I haven't run them a lot, but I have run them a bit, and I've also heard things from people that make them work. And what I found the last time I ran Reapers, it was a 30 lap race. The longer I ran them, the more heat that got built in the tire, the better the tire gripped. So I would say that I probably wasn't aggressive enough in order to bring the tire in quicker, or I didn't have the tread thin enough, which, I don't know if you guys saw the video. I was trying to, I was playing with my cutting of tires. I'm no professional at it. Um, but I needed to practice with the sat, and that sat had a couple runs on it. I'm like, all right, we'll play with this one, see what they. I just wanted to know how they're going to cut, what I'm looking for, and I got a little thing on that. That's some people are rude, some people are helpful, and I don't particularly like that. But in your case, I would say that yes, maybe try not internally, because the internal thing I've heard, and from my experience, they don't like a ton of internal. The one set I ran did have some internal in it, like 2 ounces on the right side, 1 ounce on the left. It worked really well this time around, but then again, it did take a bit for the tire to come in. So I've heard a little thinner, but I would try a little more aggressive. And as it gets cooler, SQS is going to be more aggressive than the oranges, but the black sand is, depending on your surface, is probably still a good choice. Speaking of cold, would you? Oh, 1 second on that. There's nothing to stop people from being rude on the internet. Usually, I don't have to deal with a whole bunch of jerks. But it's so I put that video of me practicing. Clearly says practicing cutting tires, and it's one thing, hey, the tread's pretty thin. Okay, that's a valid point. But I was practicing cutting the tire. I wanted to see what kind of surface I could get out of it. It's just not something I'm very comfortable with. I'm new to it. I want to learn and get it good. So one person says, that the tread got too thin. Now, people have told me that a thinner Reaper works really well on certain type of surfaces. Okay, so maybe I didn't go too far on that. Maybe they're just from their experience that was too thin. The one guy was just like, "Oh, you burned them up," and he's just like, "It clearly says that I was practicing." Like there's no way you're gonna stop jerks from commenting. And it was just like, all right, I just gave him a thumbs up. Cool, man. Cool, helpful comment, I guess. Now, on the opposite side of that, I think it was TikTok or somebody, and somebody says, "Hey, I've been cutting maxes for a long time. Just cut from dot to dot." So meaning the inside. Oh, shoot, no, those are all Vegas. Anyway, just the center section, just and leaving the edges alone. I'm like, okay. And I thanked them. Thank you very much for that. And they replied, you're very welcome. Now, constructive criticism. Hey, it clearly says I'm practicing. It's these, I might not even run those tires. I just wanted to cut them to see what kind of surface I came up with. Maybe I will run them. Maybe if there's another race to see what they do. Cool, but constructive criticism. Just berating somebody like, "Oh, it's junk now." It's like, why? Why is it junk? What do you want to explain to me? Why it's junk? It's burned up. Why? Is my speed too fast? Did I cut the edge? There was no, just hey man, I showed you burn that tire up. Cool. What did I do wrong? This channel is about learning, and if I'm doing something wrong, somebody say, "Hey, man, you might not want to do that. Try and slow your." And somebody did slow your speed down. So I'm gonna try and get a bigger pull for that. Maybe spin a little slower, and cut from dot to dot in the center of the tire and see how that behaves. But okay, now onto your. Speaking of cold, what do you recommend helping with helmet fogging up? JC Specialties used to have an inside helmet thing. One thing that I found that works, helmets in the, I can't show you. The visor, if you put a little roll of tape that keeps the visor from completely yes, you're going to get crap in your helmet. Yes, dirt's going to come in there or whatever. But if you keep the bottom of the visor just ever so slightly, a piece of tape either side or one side, just to keep it from completely sealing, it allows air to pass in and out. That's helped me. I've heard people say shaving cream. I don't think I've ever tried that. I used to have some anti-fog spray that I got from JC Specialties. It might be worth a look for like Speedway Motors or something like that. Summit Racing. it might be worth just Googling, helmet fog spray. There used to be the spray I used to put on my glasses. It used to help a little bit, still fog up if you're breathing heavy or if you're sweating or getting warm. But I did find that just spacing out your visor a little bit and allowing air to get in there, you're going to take a little dirt in the face, but I have glasses, so it's not that big of a deal. That makes sense because it does take it. Yeah, I think the Reapers need a little heat in them in order for the tire to bite, which makes sense with the thinning of the tread. Maybe that exacerbates or makes it quicker, make it the thinner tread. Makes the tire engage a little faster. It's possible. I don't have a ton of experience with the Reaper, but little by little, just what people say, and I've run them 3 times now, and 3 different prep situations. Internal prep, I ran straight up in one heat race. Didn't like that. That was not to my liking. They're still unprepped over here. They only have that one heat cycle on them, so I'm going to play with those a little bit more. But I don't want to say people haven't been getting at me and saying only put this amount of internal in them, or a matter of fact, a bunch of people have said they haven't done a ton of internal to them. So one thing I will tell you is if you're looking for a lower duro, don't bother over prepping your Reapers because I hit them hard. I got the duro below 50 and it went right back up. And anybody I've had a conversation with said the exact same thing, that they hit them hard, they hit them with goat, they hit them with this, they hit them with that, they got them to drop. And if you let them sit around too much, whatever composition of the rubber has, that duro it just climbs right back up. Uh, oh, okay, yep. So all right, get to run the south though. This is true. But then again, maybe not. What John Keel is saying, he's cutting from the dot over to the shoulder to thin that out, to get the dip out of it, to make it a more even surface. So it's, also roll speed. There's, I don't know how much there is to that, but a thinner tread, a thinner tire is going to, roll a little better. But I'd assume it's better, just contact wise. It's making the edges more rolled over rather than keeping. So there's 2 different ways. So a looser track, typically a rounded shoulder. If you have a like a Burris up here, up north, typically we have softer, looser type tracks. You want that rounded that edge. When you get to something that is really bit up, if a track's taking rubber a lot, usually that flat cut more that more emulates like a Maxxis or whatever, seems to do better on that. That's from what I've been told. I haven't cut burris, so but from what I've been told and from what I've seen, round cuts versus flat cuts. Flat cuts are typically for your harder, faster tracks. Round cuts are for your looser type tracks. Uh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, they're I don't dislike, again. I will last week was the whole birth thing, and everybody's or not everybody. Some people were giving Burris a bunch of crap about canceling the Overton race and the safety thing, and I get it, but I'm not here to bash on any tire company. They all have their purpose, and as long as they're all contributing to the sport to make karting great, it's fine. It's do what you do. Some tires are more expensive, some tires are cheaper, some perform better on some surfaces. It's all good. That's typically why I say I'm an open tire advocate, but I totally get tire rules. I can understand how it does save some people money. Now, that being said, if you got a burst tire rule, I've heard more times than if you hear it a whole bunch, you tend to believe it, that fresher sets of burris or only running them one time makes for better speed. that if you start running a burst tire too many times on the same day, you're starting to shed speed. There might be something to it. Uh, I bike track wore out our clutch. High bike track. So, mm, I don't have a ton of experience with clutches in clone stuff, junior, whatever. So, yeah, I'm going to come at this from an open standpoint because I got more experience with clutches. If your clutch is engaging too high, you are slipping the discs too much. If you're engaging your clutch too low, you're you're matting them together and they're engaged all the time. Now, you would think, hey, if I engage the clutch sooner, it's going to be closed up and it's going to take more. Well, on a higher bike track, if the motor is trying to pull through those discs, if they're engaged all the way, but the motor and the grip level is trying to pull through the disc, it's going to start to wear and cause heat in the clutch. So it's a fine line whether raise your engagement too high to where those are constantly doing this. Now, if you have a higher engagement, it tends to lend itself to a better launch, getting your engine spooled up quicker. But and then the discs hit together, and then it allows for a better launch. But when you're running it that high, you have a tendency to let those friction discs slip a lot. On the opposite, like I just said, if you engage them too soon and there's a whole bunch of grip, you'll do what is called pulling through the clutch. And we find that a lot with the opens that if it's engaged too much, the engine has so much horsepower that it has a tendency to create a whole bunch of heat from the disc engage, being together too much and not allowing any breathability in there. It's like I said, I don't want to give you bad information because I don't know that much about clone type stuff. But it is either engaging too soon or it's engaging too late type of thing, and it might be a spring adjustment or weights on the clutch. That's another thing. Like if uh, if there's too many weights on the levers, it's going to engage a lot sooner, and it's going to cause them to engage, and the engine could possibly be pulling through the clutch. So I don't know what the uh, tires are black magic to me. Prep was a thing back when I raced 30 years ago. Yep. Dennis, that's depends on your track. Um, Getting all sorts of notifications today. Depends on your track. There, when I ran bag of yellows at AMS, so it's a burst track, but when you run open there, you're open tire. It was nothing to have bag of yellows punching in the 20s. Now that being said, when you're running SS11s, because it's a burst track, or SS33s, you're going to be anywhere from 40 to 45 duro on 11s to 50 to 60 duro on 33s, really depending. But yes, people in general though have I do get this a lot. Like they get very confused as to why a hard track hard tire, soft track soft tire. They think, hey, if you need more bite, just put more prep on it, get the tire softer, it will bite harder. It will bite harder, but for how long? The softer tire on the harder surface is going to overheat the tire quicker and burn it up quicker. And when your durometer doesn't match the surface, you can find yourself slipping and sliding a lot more than you would think. So, but yeah, there. I'm sure there was prep back in the day. It just was not talked about nearly as much. There was a lot of diesel fuel. There was a lot of automatic transmission fuel. There was some WD-40 being used as preps, solvents, just something to soften the tire, something to create bite, something to fire off the tire. But it was definitely even when I got into it 20 years ago, there wasn't a lot. There was WD-40, and then if you wanted, aggressive, you had a can of wintergreen. That stuff stunk. Oh my god, I'm sure it's still around, but yeah, wintergreen was gnarly stuff, man. Uh, God, I think we spilled it in a trailer one time. It was just brutal. It's forever in my nose. As soon as I smell any kind of wintergreen, that's immediately how I think of that. Running junior three was set up the clutch. Yeah, that's. I think. Yeah, I think that's right about where my engine builder said that mine's engaging. Uh, I checked my air gap on it. That's another thing on the back on the clutch thing. Um, get yourself a set of feeler gauges. If you're running a bully clutch, I say bully clutch because I don't know what like a gator or one of the other clutches. I'm not sure. You're going to have to get with your clutch guy or whoever supplied your clutch where they suggest to run your air gap. So your air gap's the distance between your friction disc and your floater disc. You get your a set of feeler gauges and get in between those. And bully, for instance, is 30 thousandths to 55 thousandths. You're pretty much good to go. Once you exceed 55 thousandths air gap, you're going to start to see a lot of slip, and your clutch is going to burn up. Your friction discs have seen a better day. If you're a little, if you're lower than 30 thousandths air gap on a bully clutch, tendency is it's going to engage a little too soon. You're going to get friction there because there's not enough space for it to do its thing. Um, and that's, I ran bully clutches for years on my sedan, so I know them very, very well. 220 thousandths on purple springs, a weight every other lever, a bolt every other lever on the jack shaft clutch. Yep, 220 thousandths. Yep, I still have it. It's up in there. 30 to 55 thousandths. Yep. Um, I think I don't run treads, but I do like the push for the tread movement, if you want to call it the tracks moving to the tread. I don't. I think it's for those people who don't like prep and are getting into series where they don't allow prep. This definitely allows for a more evenness that tires aren't the biggest concern. Setup, driving, this and that. I'm here for it. From what I've seen of the Maxis, they look really good. Hoosiers really held the. I think Hoosiers are probably one of the better treads out there. They just been at it a really long time. The wings, the wing carts run them a lot. But Burris makes a treaded tire. They've been running. They've been developed for a long time. They work really well. TX11s, TX22s. They do it. I think Max is coming in and developing their own. I think they see where some tracks are going to this, and they don't want to miss the boat. And I think they look like a good tire. I've never ran them, so I'm assuming Maxxis doesn't. They know what they're doing. They make motocross tires, they make ATV tires, they make mountain bike tires. Maxxis knows what they're doing. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be a quality thing. What is a good inside prep for pink and blue Maxxis down south racing? I'm a Georgia Hurricane. I right. I thought when I ran down to GKK in 2022. 2022. Um, what did I run internally? Oh, trying to think. Usually it's the same thing. I like GK1 Blue for a track that is for springtime and fall time. It's a little more aggressive, but in general, if it's going to be a hot, dry, dusty, type of track where you just need a little extra bite in a Maxxis, I would do something like AT2 or why am I drawing a blank? Uh, Not SAA. Shoot. S. Why am I drawing a blank? Do I have it? Oh, SST. SST is probably going to be a little more aggressive than AT2. AT2 is basically Hot Lap 2, different formulation. It's Track Tac's version uh, of Hot Lap 2. If you're familiar with that, um, it's a it's the basis of some of the preps. The base formulation for some of the preps that they have additives to it to make what they are. But if you don't want to be overly aggressive, if you want just something to assist for a tire down there, especially down south, I wouldn't go overly aggressive. Um, you don't want to get too soft, especially from internal. But if it's a softer type of track, I can definitely suggest some more aggressive chemicals from the inside. But I have to be very careful. My experience with Track Tac is 99% up north. So I have to be very careful what I'm recommending to Southerners for prep down there. Honestly, if you really want a good tire, a good Track Tac program for down south, call Track Tac. Chris Harris will answer your questions. That he is definitely going to have better answers than I will. My suggestion would be nothing crazy heavy, because you don't want to bite the tire up too much being on those hot, fast tracks. But Chris Harris is way more knowledgeable about Southern stuff than I am. My basis, I'm up north, so we can be a little more aggressive up here, and that's my knowledge base. Uh, SMC clutch are built pretty. So yeah, SMC or yes, SMC. They've been around for a long time. I don't think I've ever owned one. I did have a Tomar a long time ago. I used to run Tomar a long time ago. Yeah, SMC. They were Hortzman. Those were really good clutches. Yeah. I really miss Hortzman gears. Uh, WMS is been pretty decent, but I have one or two Hortzman gears, 35 chain gears, still kicking around, and I mean, they were real good aluminum, and they have taken some abuse. They've taken abuse on my open, and I've run one or two of them, a couple times in the clone, and they still are chugging along. What are some common changes as the track starts to come in? Air, cross, washers, weights, camber. Uh, a lot of people are just going to say, especially down southish, are going to be tires, and that's depending on what you're running. Yes, but all the above. It's hard to specifically, put your finger on exactly what to do, but typically, most people are going to say tires. Leave your if you have a nice even balance on your cart, then you're just going to make adjustment for tires. But it could be it really depends on what it's doing. It could be as simple as stagger. Maybe it's not turning good enough in the center. Maybe you just need a little more rear stagger. Cross is relative, because I can tell you that right now, if the engine was on it, I'm at like 58% cross. That's not recommended by Phantom. Phantom suggests 65 cross, but I'm not on the type of tracks that they typically run on. So I think I need to increase it a little bit. I think I won't say it's misbehaving. It's not behaving how I want it to. So I was going to try a little higher cross on it and see where that goes. But uncommon changes. Absorbent. Don't go crazy with air pressure. I hear some people running like a lot of air pressure, and I don't know that like, I think, all right, don't use air pressure. Here's an uncommon one. Don't use air pressure to adjust your stagger. In my change tire diameter. That would be my suggestion. If you're running 5 and 6 air pressure, 5 pounds left, 6 pounds right. Yep, I don't. That's a fairly common air pressure. I'd say for down south, that's what I've run. I've also run 5 and 4 down south. Um, don't put if you're looking for more rear stagger, don't put 15 pounds in your right rear to increase rear stagger. That is going to cause a whole different balance on your car. That is going to make, yes, you may have increased stagger to help the center turn, but you just, you created a whole host of problems that could come from that. So I would say that's an uncommon problem. But anything like you said, tires are going to be probably your number one recommended. If your cart's not handling, change tires, change prep. However you're prepping them. I'd say stagger and cross are a majority of your first things that you want to change. Um, there you go. 10 tooth driver with a bearing on a bully clutch setup. Have you seen it? I've heard about it. And I've heard they're temperamental and you can lose teeth on a 10 tooth. Um, I run an 11 tooth without a bearing on this bully. Oh, it's on there. Here, flip around here. Oh, I need to stand up anyway. So right here, that's an 11 tooth in there because of how small the tracks are that I run. But I've heard that there's some kind of modification that you got to do to the basket, um, something along those lines, in order to make that work. But they tend to be temperamental and can shear the teeth because they're so fine. Um, but yeah, I don't personally have one, so I've never seen it. I have heard about it, and I heard they're temperamental. So I don't know if you can. That being said, maybe try an 11 tooth uh, and just increase your rear gear on it to compensate for it, type of thing. Because like I said, there's no bearing on the inside of that on the inside of the clutch. It just rotates without a bearing. So I make sure that I clean and lubricate that after every single race. Um, does anybody race indoors in the winter? I have raced indoors in the winter twice. It was both time or no, twice, three times, maybe three times. KT 100, I finished second in, that was years ago. That was very beginning of my racing. I did pretty well at that, but I was young back then and I could take that abuse. I tried to do it probably 13 years ago ish, 10 to 13 years ago on my open. I was white as a ghost because I think I held my breath the entire time and decided that I much rather just watch people race indoors. Very exciting, really cool. Lots of left side weight. You run a left front as a left rear. Lots of rear stagger, lots of bite, lots of grinding of tires in between sessions. You'll see people, they come off tire, they peel off the tires, and you just see people. There'll be one person spraying a lubricant, Windex, simple green, something along those lines, and people just grinding tires and making them nice and smooth. And I don't think there's much prepping going on. Coke syrup, especially, it's it's super grippy. You don't want the tire any more grippy than you're going to be, but lots of left side weight, lots of stagger, lots of speed, lots of G forces. Um, I suppose it would be fun, and I always think I want to do it. Uh, but then I have to remind myself what it was like the last time I did it and how unenjoyable it was for me. And I prefer to be a bystander when it comes to that stuff. So there's the only one I know of. There's so is it the Hog Barn? Shoot, there's one in Ohio. I want to say it's a hog barn. I don't know why that's saying it. I could be wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm insulting your race. It was years ago that I even thought about that race. But Syracuse indoors, which is I believe the first weekend in December. Is that right? Um, and then there's the PA one, the farm show and all that. Shoot, I can't think of the name of that. But yeah, there used to be one. I went to one in no, what I ran the one in Charlotte. I ran UAS in Charlotte. I drove all the way down to Charlotte and really got whooped down there. Of course, it wasn't. my transponder didn't pick up. They made me go out again on dirty tires, and I really was terrible. I ended up watching the whole, main, which is fine because I would have been lap traffic there. Indoor is not my cup of tea. It was when I was 20 whatever years old. I could tolerate it, and my body would take it, but uh, I'm almost 50 now, and I don't like that stuff. Yes, very hard on equipment, lots of G forces. Like, yeah, it's I would say that indoor racing is good for younger people and people who have been doing it a long time and know what they're doing. I've seen some older gentlemen do it, and they've been racing that stuff for 20 plus years, and they know their setup, they know what it likes, they know what works, and more power to them. It's not my cup of tea, so I try and uh, there you go, indoor. I like the indoor dirt stuff. I've never participated in it, but that sounds fun to me. Batesville, God, bucket list. That's definitely one of those. Um, but like I was mentioning earlier, the Four Takes of Fuel guys that they mentioned Batesville, and I think that would be fantastic. And I was just like, yeah, clone or open. They're like, bring if you were to do it, bring your open, just because I think I would have a way better shot at it on my open because clone guys just know what they're doing. When you're going into any situation like that, they're going to have a leg up on you, especially somebody like me who has very little experience with that stuff. So I definitely, I'd be, if I ever was able to do it, if I could afford to do it, I would probably bring my open and just sing around there on the two stroke and let her eat. Uh, yeah, Williamston, North Carolina. Yep. Uh, uh, that's so I don't think like right now Phantoms chassis that they offer. They don't have their new model out yet. It's coming eventually. I don't know what it's called. I don't know when that's anything. So there's two options right now. Their current option would be the brand new. If you're buying brand new, is the Recon. Uh, I've run a Recon with UAS stuff with the Open, weighing 440 pounds. Handled beautifully. I've also run it with the Clone. The Recon just works really well. If you're looking for something used and you're a heavier guy, the Phantom Scythe would be their last cart before they went back to the Recon, and they have different tubings for that. They have 083, which is their small tube, and then they have 095, which is what that one is. And I have an open on that. Matter of fact, I did the best I ever did in UAS points on that chassis right there in 2022. And I would suggest something that is 095. I would suggest something that is a little heavier tubing if you're a bigger guy. So either, if I was recommending anything, if you didn't want a brand new and you were in the market for something, either a Recon, or if you couldn't find a Recon, if somebody had a Scythe up for sale, but I would definitely pay attention to the 095 versus 083. 095 is going to be for a little more weight. It's just going to handle you a little better. But Recon is never a bad choice. I've been a fan of it since I've had been on Recon of some sort since 2017. I've always been happy with them. They work really well. Um, the clone. Yeah, that's yep, definitely that. Yeah, I'm on a 17 Recon right now. I mean, it still works. It's mostly me, and I'm not a heavy guy, but I'm heavy enough that I have a ton of left side weight. That for the tracks I run. It's not all tracks. If I were to go down south, it'd probably be better because I could run the cross up, and the left side wouldn't hurt me as bad. But that's what the last video was about. That sometimes these tracks up here require a little less left side for right side bite, and I just have a little harder time getting it with my current body composition. We'll say that. That's I weighed in at almost 218 pounds the other day, so I know that doesn't sound a lot to some people. You have to understand, I graduated high school at 160 pounds. And I spent most of my adult life at somewhere in the 170 to 180 range. And now I'm over 200 pounds, and that's where I am. So, um, yep. That's that. It's Recons. They just work. They're a super reliable chassis. They're not overly tire sensitive. They just work really well. There's an argument to be said that did the Deuce that they had years ago with the double rail. I had one of those, and it worked really well. Um, just maybe not as good as the Recon, in my opinion, but raw speed, it was a little more tire sensitive. But raw speed, I think the Deuce was faster. The Scythe arguably could be a little faster than the Recon, but then again, there's the debate. Do you go for a chassis that has a bigger tire window, that is more forgiving on tires, that you're giving up maybe the slightest bit of speed, or do you go for that chassis that has the smaller tire window, that if you could hit it on, if you could nail the tires, the Scythe, the Deuce, super fast chassis, just a little more particular what they're going to like for tires. But I just looked up at my time, and I've been jabbing on for 70 minutes. I thought it was going to be tough when Wesley hopefully eventually be back on these lives, but I thought it might be tough for me to carry on a conversation. But I thank you very much for the chat. You guys keep me engaged. You keep me talking. I absolutely. I've been looking forward to Thursdays now. This really has become quite fun for me. I will say this: I might adjust time a little bit. I may make it a 7:30. It's I get out of work at 5. I go to the gym and I work out for an hour. So I get out of the gym at 6. A little after 6 o'clock. I get home. I have to eat real fast. Um, I don't have time to walk my dog. My wife's kind of in my ear about that. So I might make this 7:30 next week from here on out, just to adjust a little bit, give myself a tiny bit more time. Um, but yeah, I it's weird that I super enjoy working out after work, but it's a thing that I dig. I just go around the corner, go to the YMCA, just pump some iron, and then and then I come home and talk with you guys on Thursdays. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming back every week. Thank you for engaging. You can always submit questions in Dirt Cart Racer, and I'll do my best to answer them. You can shoot me emails, do all that stuff, but if you keep on showing up on Thursdays, I'll keep on doing this. I want to let you know I might adjust it to about 7:30 next week, and maybe there on, make it, just give myself an extra half an hour so I can take my dog for a walk, and I won't be as trying to cram food down my mouth type of thing, as so I can get on here. But all right, guys, yeah, I 72 minutes now. I'm sure my wife's going to yell at me. I will see you guys next week. All right, later.